Yeah, good afternoon. Um, the government recently has come out with a very interesting thing. They're stating that the space time continuum is collapsing. This information actually came out about 2 decades ago. I think it was the University of Stanford, their physics department made the statement that the absolutes are not absolute any longer. The speed of light is not absolute any longer. Um, the uh, decay rate decay rate of nuclear material has changed. Specifically, most importantly, carbon. I think it's carbon 14. And the excuse me. The reason this is so amazing is it's scriptural, because when the time is gone and space is gone, and all, if you can wrap your mind around it, basically look at it like this: you'll be able to go anywhere instantly, okay? And there will be no death, no decay in the world. Uh, Things like oxides, rust, they will not exist anymore. And so, if you can go anywhere instantly, and there goes space and time, it's over with. Can you see that? I'm sure you can. And the scriptures speak of that. Book of Revelation says time shall be no longer. Uh, we live in what is known as a probationary state, but there is a separation of the wheat and tares which has been taking place, and it's taken place all over the world, because we are in the time of the harvest, when the wicked are going to be destroyed. And a lot of times you wonder, well, why did all those people get destroyed? Well, when you understand what wickedness is, it is nothing more than self-centeredness, where you are just wrapped up in your own world and you don't really care about anybody else or anything else, not even your own families, you know, for their well-being or their spiritual welfare. So here we are, the separation of the wheat and tares at the harvest time, and this is what the world is reacting to. Now, the amazing thing about the space time collapsing is that consciousness will be the real power. Because consciousness comes on many different levels. But the highest level of consciousness is what created everything. And that would be a God consciousness, or God's conscious. So, for the righteous, uh, the divine, the spiritually progressed people, their consciousness becomes more powerful every day. And if you go into quantum physics, there's a thing called singularity, and singularity is a concentration of consciousness, and is a result of an event horizon. And in quantum physics, event horizon is is on the border of a black hole. They call it a black hole because even light can't escape. But quantum physicists will tell you that light that goes in has information in it. And what happens to that information? Well, that's where it becomes singularity, because you have a concentration of information or consciousness. And so singularity is an amazing thing. Any consciousness, divine consciousness, or any consciousness that is a very high level will occupy that position. And then it will become entangled. That's called entanglement. Okay. And then it occupies a position called superposition. Now, what happens to that consciousness when it has superposition and is entanglement? Entanglement is it's connected to everything. Okay. If you have resonance, and you got to have resonance for entanglement. In other words, you're all at the same frequency. And there are many levels. There are many levels or dimensions. And specifically, those frequencies might be just a portion of those levels. Okay? And I hope you're following me here. It'll be a portion of a different frequency. And I'm trying to think of, I just said the other word. In other words, look at it like this. Not all people are on the same level, but they may have something in common. And when you have entanglement, those things they have in common become resonance. Okay. Then you have coercion. And that's where it gets really interesting, because that higher consciousness can focus that coercion on wherever it wants. Now, that is also known as a fractal in the divine matrix. And we live in a holographic universe. And when a fractal of that is of that high level of coercion goes into the divine matrix, which is the hologram, it begins to change it. Okay? It takes time. Sometimes it takes a lot of time, sometimes not so much time. But Christ, his crucifixion and resurrection gives you an idea of the timing. But ultimately, as all men die, all men should be made alive. So that fractal that he put into the divine matrix will eventually become part of the whole. And that's why all men will be resurrected. So now we're in a position, or a higher intelligence is in a position. Now, prophecy talks about there will be this restoration of all things, okay? And heaven and earth shall come together. And of course, you know who's going to win out there. Heaven is. And all things, the ancient heritages will be established and arranged by lot. And that lot is your lot in your eternal life. Okay. And we will have a new world. And it will be beautiful compared to what we live in now. And the truly wicked will go occupy another world, which will be their frequency and the resident, and that's their lot, their eternal lot. So when the government come out and said that, I just thought, well, that's pretty interesting that you guys are coming out and saying that now, even though it was said decades ago. Here's what really gets me, though. They say they can control it, and they can go anywhere instantly. No, they can't. Now, they can say they see the potential, and that is possible. They can't do it. I promise you, they can't do it. Now, we know there's one that's going to come that can do it, okay? And he is Elijah, or Elias. And he will come, as Malachi said, and restore all things, okay? And those all things are the ancient heritages of our previous existence in our premortal life, where the righteous were completely righteous and divine, and that's all going to be restored here on earth. It will receive its paradisical glory, and it'll be occupied by the saints of God. And I went through that rather quickly. I don't think I made any mistakes, but it's just a very interesting subject. Okay, over and out. God bless.